shit, I gotta hit the button. There. All right. Chapter 24, Moravians, or the Moravian Brothers of the Order of Religious Freemasons, or Order of the Mustard Seed, or the Church Unitas Fraterum, or the Herrenhutter. Margrave Albert expelled the Jews from the town of Aglo in Moravia on the ground that they had been in a league with the Taborites, the subversive element among the Hussites. The Taborites were Bohemians. The Moravian Brothers, or Unitas Fraterum, a Gnostic sect, were founded in 1457 and at Kuhnwald near Sephenberg by Gregory, the nephew of the Klaxstein leader Roxana. They were an offshoot of the Bohemian Brethren, said to represent the religious kernel of the Hussite movement. At the Synod of Lota near Reichenau in 1467, they constituted themselves into a church separate from the Klaxstein or National Church of Bohemia. The constitution of the society was revised at a second synod held at Lota under the direction of Luke of Prague, who may be regarded as their second founder. This reorganization enabled the society to grow rapidly. In the early years of the 16th century, the Unitas included nearly 400 congregations in Bohemia and Moravia. Moravia? That might be what it is. I think it's Moravia. With 150,000 members, and including Poland, embraced 3 provinces, Bohemia, Moravia, where the Jews are the best educated of the inhabitants, and in a few small towns, form a full half of the population, and Poland. Each province had its own bishops and synods, but all were united in one church and governed by the General Synod. The Lutheran movement in Germany awakened lively interest among the brethren, and some unsuccessful attempts were made under the leadership of Augusta to unite with the Lutheran Church, 1528 to 1546. But when the Calvinist Reformation reached Bohemia, the brethren found themselves more in symphony with it than with the Lutheran. The Jesuit anti-Reformation, instigated by Rudolph and his brothers Matthias and Ferdinand, found the brethren a preposterous church, but the pitiless persecution which followed the unsuccessful attempt at revolution crushed the whole Protestantism of Bohemia, and in 1627 the evangelical churches there had ceased to exist. About the same time, the Polish branch of the unity, in which many refugees from Bohemia and Moravia had found a home, was absorbed in the Reformed Church of Poland. A few families, however, especially in Moravia, held religious services in secret, preserved the traditions of their fathers, and in spite of the vigilance of their enemies, maintained some correspondence with each other. In 1722, some of these left home and property to seek a place where they could worship in freedom. The first company, led by Christian David, a mechanic, settled by invitation from Count Zinzendorf on his estate in Bethersdorf near Zattu in Saxony. They were soon joined by others, about 300 coming within 7 years, and built a town which they called Herrenhut. The small community at first adopted the constitution and teaching of the old Unitas. The episcopate had been continued, and in 1735, David Nitschmann was consecrated first bishop of the renewed Moravian Church. The new settlement was not, however, destined to be simply a revival of the organization of the Bohemian Brethren. Zinzendorf, who had given them an asylum, came with his wife, family, and chaplain to live among the refugees. He was a Lutheran who accepted Spener's pietism, and he wished to form a society distinct from national churches and devoted to good works. After long negotiations, a union was effected between the Lutheran element and the adherents of the ancient Unitas Fraternum. The immigrants at Herrenhut attended the parish church at Berthelsdorf and were simply a Christian Gnostic society within the Lutheran Church. Ecclesia in Ecclesia. Ecclesialia in Ecclesia. This peculiarity is still to some extent preserved in the German branch of the church and the Moravian Brethren's congregation within the evangelical Protestant churches, which enables them to do evangelistic work without proselytizing. The society adopted a code of rules in 1727 and ordained 12 elders to carry on pastoral work. This was the revival of the Unitas Fraternum as a church. Besides congregational work, special home missions were and are carried on in each province. In the German province, there is a peculiar home mission called the Diaspora, which dates to 1829. The Moravians came to England in 1721, brought by Count Zinzendorf. The following extract from the work of an Anglican bishop, written in 1751, shows that they were not particularly appreciated in that country as a force of good. Of what dangerous consequence the Moravian system is to government and civil society appears by their progressive multiplicity of prevarications, lies, frauds, cheats, and juggling impostors, greatly detrimental to princes and states as well as ruinous to private persons, which have so plainly been proved by Mr. Reminus and others, particularly in the history of the Moravians. No, the Moravans. I can't say that word. It's Moravians. The Moravians. Very lately published from the public acts of Bungen and other authentic vouchers. Of this nature are their devouring the whole substance of any wealthy convert and declaring that the society may say to a young rich brother, either give up all that thou hast or get thee gone, sending away any of the society to the remotest parts of the world at a minute's warning by the authority of the Savior, who will have it done post haste, whereby any, though his majesty's subjects, whom they suspect or or that dislike their proceedings, or for prudential reasons must be married up, or may discover any of their iniquities, are instantly sent into banishment and condemned to transportation, not for any crime, but for their virtue and duty, which is more than all the authority of Great Britain can do. For any crime without an open legal trial, making marriages void, though before contracted, unless the carnal cohabitation has been performed in the presence of the elders. Seducing men's wives and daughters, and then keeping them by force, or sending them out of the way, and allowing no power of earth to reclaim them, though the parents beg it on their knees. Taking away the natural authority of the parents and making their children disobey and renounce them under pretense of obeying the Savior, the Father that created them, thereby making the fifth commandment of no effect, sometimes bribing and sometimes threatening states as occasion serves, and denouncing rugmenta regum if they are opposed, and telling princes that such or such a place in their dominions was founded by the Savior for his theocracy, which he won't fail to maintain. These things have been proved upon the Moravians, both as the doctrine and practice, by diverse instances, and that in fact they claim an independency on government appears from the letter to the Regency of Bungen from the Count Zinzendorf and his brethren, wherein it is said in plain terms that all the sovereigns on earth must consent to the theocracy in the Moravian brotherhood, or have no brethren in their dominions. I need not add that theocracy signifies an immediate government by God, which of course excludeth all civil authority. The Moravian dogma was spiritism, which generally means black magic. As for their moral code, it can be summarized in the few following words of Count Zinzendorf in a dialogue with Mr. Wesley. We reject all self-denial. We trample it underfoot. We believers do what we please and no more. Claiming to be free from all law by their marriage with Christ, they refuse to be bound by any law at all, either of the Old Testament or the New. To bring all sects under his sway, Roman Catholics, Socinians, Fanatics, Chillidists, Anabaptists, etc., Count Zinzendorf made a new translation of the New Testament. This was the practice of almost all the Gnostic heretics in order to deceive and draw disciples, nor did they make any scruple of omissions, expungings, or any corruptions that might serve their purpose. Missionaries were sent abroad, everything being done by the Savior's injunction. Heaven for them is to consist in their being metamorphosed into female angels for a carnal enjoyment of Christ in his human nature, in the eternal bedchamber. Wow. Where in the scriptures do you find panegyrical hymns in honor of your phallus? Asked Levington. For what follows, we refer the reader to page 140 of the bishop's book. Count Zinzendorf is said to have been the head of the Rosicrucians from 1744 to 1749. He was on intimate terms with John Wesley, the founder of Methodism. Of all its names, that of the Order of Religious Freemasons is the most significant today. It should also be remembered that the head of this order was also the head of the esoteric Rosicrucians of the time. So, hold on, I shut this off.